Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5, the last one of our EU election series. I'm Caro, and with me is Stefanos. Stefanos, how do you feel about this last episode?
Hi, Caro. I'm a bit sad, to be honest, but I think it was a really nice series regarding the EU elections.
Yeah, you are right. I have to admit, I learned a bit about EU elections. And today we have a special guest, Hanah Lahe, the youngest person in the Estonian Parliament. Welcome, Hanah.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
So, Hanah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Hanah. I'm an Estonian. I live in Tallinn. I'm 24 years old. I work as a member of the parliament and I'm studying environmental management and policy. I will be hopefully finishing my master now this spring. Very excited about that. And I think environment and climate topics, human rights, women's rights, and youth involvement generally are topics that are very close to my heart. And now, as of today, I'm dealing with them in the level of politics. So.
And I'm curious, how did you actually decide to go into politics?
Yes, it's actually quite funny to think about it because when I was younger, when I was in middle school and when I was in high school, I didn't care about politics at all. Um, there were talks about politics in my home, but it was mostly the negative stuff, mostly about the older politicians wearing suits talking about important things, and the same went with my voting region, so to say. So there were never any candidates in my area that I wanted to vote for. I could never relate to any of them. I just didn't understand what they were talking about, especially when I was younger. It was all too difficult, complicated, and very formal. And also, the involvement of women in politics, at least in my area, was pretty low. So I just didn't feel like politics was anything that I could ever be a part of. And not only that, but I didn't really see how politics would affect my life or what was my part in politics or what could it be. So I never went to vote even. In Estonia, you can vote at 16 and run at 18 on the local elections. And on the European Parliament and national elections, it's 18 and 21. So we made the change for the local elections in 2017, and I was 16 or 17 then. I remember I had the possibility to go to vote, but I didn't go because I couldn't relate to politics at all. And 2 years later, it was on the same year we had European elections and then European Union, Parliament elections, and then we had the national elections. And I didn't go to vote then as well. So the first time I voted was in 2021 when I was a candidate myself, and I voted for myself actually. But I wasn't interested in politics. I think what really sparked interest in me, and maybe in a negative way, was that in 2019, when we had the national elections I was just talking about, where I didn't go to vote myself, the Reform Party, of which I'm a member now today, they won the elections, but a very conservative and populist coalition was formed behind their backs. So it left Reform Party in the opposition, and in the coalition there was this one party, EKRE, they're still in the parliament now, that are this right-wing populist extreme party, and they wanted to leave the EU, NATO, exit the Paris Agreement. They insulted our allies, our neighbors here, said some horrible things about the politicians here in Estonia. Just their style of politics was so horrible that even if you were a person back then who didn't read the news or didn't care about politics, you would still know what was going on. And the same thing happened with me. I figured, even though I don't care about politics, this should not be happening right now, and I should do something about this. So I moved to Tallinn. I started my bachelor's back then, and I joined the Reform Party's youth organization through this youth program. And a year later, I was already running in the local elections, 2 years later in the national elections, and now a year later in the European elections. So I think in the span of like 3 or 4 years, I participated in all possible elections. That also includes elections inside our youth organization, our party's board, So I've done it all within a very short timeline, and I think something else that I thought was really missing was politicians that cared about youth involvement, or that were young in general and that cared about climate and environment issues. So, in a sense, I had this awakening, I would say, about politics, what it is, what the system is about, who the politicians are. And I just didn't understand why we have this one Green Party in Estonia. And they haven't been in the parliament for over 10 years now, but we have all of these other parties, and none of them talk about climate and environment policy as one of their top priorities. So, sort of a wake up call from um, populists, and then I think politics was also missing climate related topics and young people. So now I'm here.
Thank you for sharing your inspiring story. And I'm pretty sure a lot of young people who are listening this podcast can relate. And I'm pretty sure a lot of young people, they are also disagree with the situations which is happening in their countries around them. So definitely that's a good example what you can do in order to make changes and don't let others to choose for you. And I'm curious. So you mentioned that you are working at the Estonian Parliament. Could you please tell us how the typical day like for the member of the parliament?
It's a very hard question because we've had the same sort of monthly agenda even for 20, 30 years now. We have the system where we have 3 weeks of plenary sessions, and then 1 week that is plenary session free, so to say. This is for going like abroad or meeting with your voters, doing things outside of the parliament. But we have our faction meetings and committee meetings and plenary sessions. They all start at the same time always. So I pretty much know my schedule all the time, but every day is still very different. Topics in our committees. I work in the Environment Committee, but also the EU Affairs Committee. So I have this very broad view of different topics, whether it's the people you meet, things that are happening in politics generally, the tasks I have to do, whether it's to write an article, to participate in a podcast, so many things to do. And obviously, now that I'm running for the European Parliament, I have this other workload, which is campaigning as well. So every day is very different, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm not a 9 to 5 person. I'm more of a 24/7 person. So I'm really happy with my work, and that it's just so diverse. I get to do so many different things.
That sounds like you have very busy schedule, and I cannot imagine putting on the top of that also your university responsibilities.
Yeah, currently it's a lot. It's not easy. I'm not trying to be like a hero here because it's very hard. I've been doing my bachelor and both now masters as well, doing working full time. So I really wanted to, within 5 years to get ahead in a way, because I feel like if you just study, you're really missing out on many things. But then again, if you work at the same time, you just have a lot of stuff going on at all times. So I feel like now that I'm finishing my master's, I will get some rest after 5 years, and I think it's been worth it. But it definitely has had a toll on my mental health as well. So for anyone who's watching or listening, it's not been easy. I don't suggest it, but it's just been my journey, and I have to go through with it now.
And Caro, last February, Anna welcomed us in the Estonian Parliament during the network meeting, and I have to say it's a very, very beautiful building.
Ah, lucky you.
It was very lovely to meet all of you there. It was so interesting to hear all of your insights and questions. I really love when young people from different European countries come to visit me, or when I could go to visit them, because I think just showing young people an example of a young person in politics, I think it's so important, because for young people, examples really matter. And if there's an older person coming to tell young people that, maybe they should step into politics or maybe they should go to vote, it's not motivating. But I feel like I've been able to create some change, and I hope I've inspired some other European countries, people from other European countries, to participate in elections as well, and also to go to vote. And I mean, we're going to have EU elections now, so yeah.
And you've been a member of the Estonian Parliament for more or less a year now, correct?
A bit over a year. It was just my sort of anniversary.
Happy anniversary then. And then I want to ask you, what is the thing that you have done during this year in the Estonian Parliament that you are most proud of?
Well, I think I'm in politics at a very right time. Estonia has never had such a liberal and progressive coalition with such a majority in the parliament. So I think the mindset and the agenda of the whole coalition, it's just really good. And if you're together in the coalition with liberal people, you have this political agenda by default, that you want to fight for human rights, you want to deal with climate change, and you want to fight against populism, and you need to, or you want to fix the country's budget, and there's so many things that we share in our agendas, even though it's three parties in the coalition, so it's definitely not easy at all times. But I would say the overall time, first of all, is very good. And some of the things that I'm most proud of, to start off, I have to say that in politics, you never do anything alone. So there's nothing I will write on my name, because it's just not possible in politics. And I wouldn't want to write anything on my name as well. I love teamwork. But first thing that comes to mind is definitely marriage equality. This has been a huge thing in Estonia, where I think the first country that was occupied by Russia. Now, later on, that we have marriage equality, this is a big thing, and it has been talked about in politics for a decade now, I think. But the talks were mostly about the Cohabitation Act, which is not the same as marriage equality. And the voting part, everything was really hard in the parliament. The opposition, they really hated it. We had to stay in the parliament for many nights, but finally, in the end of last year's June, we voted for it, and now it's set into law this 1st of January this year. So this is something huge, and I'm just really proud that Estonia has marriage equality. But the second thing would probably be all of the green reforms we're doing. So first of all, we formed a Ministry of Climate, which has everything climate related under its roof. So it's energy, transportation, it's buildings, it's waste management. So most of the things that relate to climate policy are under the same roof, except for agriculture and LULUCEF, which are under the Ministry of Regional Affairs and Agriculture. But most of the things are under the same roof. And this is a big thing for Estonia, because previously we had a Ministry of Environment, which dealt with just environment-related questions, such as forestry, for example. And then it was a Ministry of Economy that still exists now, but they had energy and transportation, for example. So it was always like this fight between two ministries, and nothing really could get done. And I felt like for as long as I can remember in Estonian politics, after we gained our independence, the like portfolio of the minister for environment has always been one of the last ones that has been given out, because it's just not really important. No one really wanted to deal with it. There was really no power in that ministry. But right now, I would say it's maybe even the most powerful ministry. And, we have all of these topics under the same roof. We have started drafting the climate law, the Climate Act for Estonia, which is, again, a huge thing that, sets these in between targets and these visions and goals for sectors to achieve climate neutrality. Then we're doing this waste management reform. We're doing this mobility reform. We're investing heavily in renewables, so transitioning out of oil shale. I think hopefully by 2030, oil shale is not doing very good in the market as well. So it's so the change is inevitable, but it's just a matter of the transition and how fair and inclusive it is. But yeah, I would say marriage equality and all of the green reforms we're doing, this is just a really good time for Estonia. I would put it like that. And obviously, the third thing is supporting Ukraine. We are the number one country, I think, in most cases in the EU by supporting Ukraine. So there have been many good initiatives that have come from us. So, for example, to create defense commissioner position for the European Commission, then a million shales, I think you call it, to Ukraine, then the frozen assets. Using them from using Russia's frozen assets to benefit Ukraine. So many good things we've done for Ukraine, and I'm very sad that Russia's aggression is still lasting. But they are fighting for European Union's freedom, I would say. So every cent, every euro, every sort of support we can get for Ukraine is very important for all of the member countries, not just Estonia.
Indeed, I think those are very, very important issues, and I think they are very much aligned with the European Union values and the values that we have in Europe. And from your personal point of view, have you faced any difficulties in your job as a member of the European Parliament?
The Estonian Parliament, not a member of the European Parliament
Not yet.
yet. There are many difficulties. I mean, before I shared what my agenda looks like, but it's not easy, obviously. I think the hardest part for me has been just understanding everything that is happening in politics generally. We have a separate law for how the parliament works, so understanding this, there are so many acts that we need to follow, that our work follows. So understanding the legislative part, how the parliament works, what possibilities they have, how to create a draft, how the committee works, what are the rules in the plenary sessions. It's been a lot, and it's one thing to study them from a book, but it's another thing to put them into practice. And then it's just all of the information that I get on a day-to-day basis. I think this is a definite advantage that many of people from older generations have, that have been in parliament for many terms, is that they know everything that is going on. They know everything about the state documents that we have. They know how the national budget works. They know how the or what topics have been in the committees before. So they just are in that information room. For me, everything is still quite new. So handling this, but I would also say we are in this parliamentary crisis because Reform Party, we won the last national elections big time, but the runner-up was EKRE, the far-right populist party I was talking about earlier, and they are against e-voting, for example. So they are not trusting the voting results. They say it's not legitimate. So I think the conflict starts from there. They think that the current government should not be in their positions because they actually haven't gotten the trust from the voters because of the e-votes. And ever since getting into our positions, they have been opposing to everything. So they have stopped the parliament work completely. They have given in thousands of different amendments for drafts or drafts. They just want to stop the parliamentary work so that we couldn't follow our agenda, which in a way is understandable because they don't share the same values as we do. But we're the parliament of Estonia. It's the most the most important place. It's where we rule the country basically. And if you stop the work of the parliament, uh, you're stopping in a way the success of Estonia. So that has been hard. And I think the opposition's I mean, their tactics and their way of doing politics, it's been very shocking to me. I didn't know that you could really be one person when you look in the camera, and completely another person when you're face to face to someone. But this is what the politicians in opposition are doing. They are, putting on this show for their voters, and in person they're really nice, and maybe even they apologize, but that's not what their voters see. So they just put on this show to show their voters that they're stopping our work and they do not agree with us. And I understand this, but in many times they've actually put the parliament work to stop. So this has been bad. But again, difficulties with I mean, difficulties that other people have with my age or my gender. Obviously, I'm this good combo of a young woman who's in politics. I don't think there are many examples like this. So it's been definitely hard for the opposition politicians, for the very conservative politicians to accept the fact that I'm their colleague. They don't like anything that I'm talking about. They don't like the fact that I have a rainbow flag on my window, my cabinet window. They don't like the fact that I'm talking about climate policy. They don't like the fact that I'm talking about youth involvement. We submitted this draft with almost half of the parliament to lower the voting and candidacy age for the European Parliament. And I think the first reading is going to be in the parliament within a few weeks. And I can't even imagine the comments that are coming up from the opposition. So generally, I would say they don't like me very much, but I'm handling it, and I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing this for my voters. So
Yeah, indeed. I think there is a saying that if others they don't like you, it means that you are doing something important, something good.
in politics, definitely, I agree.
Do you think that politics is still a men's world?
Yes, I do think it's a men's world. We have many good examples of female prime ministers, presidents, ministers, commissioners in the EU. Um, but if we look at the numbers, if we look at the statistics, then it's still mostly men who are in politics. And on the example of the European Parliament, I think it's 705 members, of which only six are under the age of 30. That's one thing. But then under 300 of the MEPs are women. So less than a half, actually. In the Estonian Parliament, we have 101 members, of which I think 30 are women. And this was a record that we had, like post regaining our independence. And, if one third is record, then something is still very wrong. And I think it starts from the boards of the parties. I think it starts from the election lists. So, even though I'm not really pro these like striped candidacy lists. I think there are many ways that you can support women to go to politics, and the support it should not only come from women. It shouldn't be like this women empowering thing. It should come from men as well. So our goal should be generally to have this equality, because this means that we have a broader view in politics for the society in general. The topics that we deal with, the problems that we are raising. If it's just a men's world, then it's clear that everything related to women's issues, such as health, childcare, for example, which is not only a women's thing, but still these are not being dealt with, and we see this inequality in different parts of the society. But I think it starts from politics, because this is where you actually make decisions. So yeah, it's still a men's world, but I'm hoping it will change.
You also mentioned that for you it's really important to be closely to young people, to keep in touch with them. And I'm wondering, how do you communicate with your supporters? Do social media help you in your job?
Definitely, but I'm running my social media all by myself. So I have many ideas that I still want to share, and I will start with all of them as soon as my master is done. But social media is definitely one thing. whether it is just talking about my work, talking about the things that are going on in Estonia's politics. It could be Instagram, it could be X, it could be what else am I using? Facebook.
TikTok.
No, I don't use TikTok. We're actually not really allowed to in the parliament because of security risks. I'm thinking of TikTok. I don't know if I will use it. Let's see. But I think it mostly, in means of elections, it definitely comes down to the importance of social media because this is where young people are. And I think if politicians want to understand how the young people think, they should be in the same places that young people are. So if you try to get a young person to vote on a street while giving them this flyer and the pen, they probably won't come. But if you explain your agenda in social media, it might come off, a bit more effective. But other than social media, I have had many work shadows. We've had this program for work shadowing the parliamentarians and other politicians in different areas and entrepreneurs from our party in our youth organization for I don't know, 10, 15 years, this tradition. But I'm doing this outside of the program as well. So if there's a young person that writes to me that says they like my job, I will always invite them to the parliament to be like my work shadow. So they see the work in committees, in the plenary hall, just they have this more personal touch, I would say. And then, as much as I can, I go to meet with young people actually, whether it's in schools, it's in different panel discussions, it's in media outlets, whatever I can. I always put young people on the top of my priorities list because I really want to show them that creating change in politics is possible. And I think the more I go, the more the snowball has started to roll. So young people who are interested in politics are quite familiar with my work. And obviously, I could do a lot more, but I try to be both active on social media and on real life as well. And something that heavily contributes to the youth involvement in politics is definitely the draft for lowering the voting and candidacy age. So I'm trying to combine my work on all different levels.
And I have feeling that the fact that you are meeting young people on the platforms where they are, that you are going to the schools, that you are meeting them in person, can also help them see that actually there is a candidate who has quite similar values and opinions as me. Uh, and they can make changes, which I would like to wish to see in my local, in my national environment.
Actually, it's been interesting. I mean, I know that I think alike with my voters and with the younger generation because I'm one of them. But it's been interesting to talk with my colleagues that are older than me, talking about youth involvement or climate policy or human rights, something like this. And quite often they don't agree with all of my views. They say I'm maybe too radical, or that I'm still evening out all of my ideals, that this will happen when I'm in the parliament. I will not be as radical. And then a few minutes later they will start telling me about how their kids actually say the same things. So it's funny, like they don't agree with me because they think I'm radical, but at the same time they understand their children. So I think this has been really helpful with creating this intergenerational cooperation, helping my colleagues to understand the younger generation. So it should not only be like youth involvement and youth empowerment, and we need young people in the parliament, but we need this inclusivity and we need this cooperation between different generations, because I currently feel like the conflict is getting bigger and bigger, especially in means of climate crisis. It's the older generation that have made these decisions that have brought us here, and young people are really disappointed, but at the same time they don't want to join politics because they know it's not their world. So creating this bridge, I think, is very important. And the more I talk about my agenda and my worldview to my colleagues, the more they understand other young people as well. So I think it's beneficial in many ways.
Creating the bridges it was the thought which I had in my head when you started talking about your situations and conversations with your colleagues. And Hannah, I heard that you are also running for a place in the European Parliament.
Yes.
Why have you decided to do that?
Well, every election is a good platform for putting forward all of the different concerns, issues, questions you have for the society, for your voters. And when it comes to my political agenda, I think it's only logical for me to run for the European Parliament. Running for any sort of election never means that you will get elected, but it's a good possibility to provide an alternative for young people and for people who want to vote for change. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Estonia, I think it's especially with the European Parliament elections that people vote for the same candidates that have been in the European Parliament for many terms. And while experience is obviously good for politics, good for understanding the world and also creating change, it's also comfortable. And I want to provide an alternative for Estonian voters, no matter the age or their ideology, of just a candidate who is ambitious, wants to do things differently, has a different view, and actually represents this missing part of politicians. Because currently, I think we're missing, sooner or later, even generations in our politics. If you look at the numbers, I mean, I was elected to the parliament at 23, which is for many people, a very young age to be elected to a national parliament. But if you're 28, 29, 30, you have sort of life experience, you have education, you have work experience. We don't have these people in politics as well. So it's not just only the really young people, it's also the people that are in the end of their 20s. We're not having them in politics, and I think voters are expecting to see a change, and I would like to be a part of that. So, providing an alternative, I think, and also elections are a good platform for bringing up all sorts of different ideas that you might have. So, whether it's lowering the voting and candidacy age, whether it is strong climate policy, standing for human rights, women involvement in politics. There are so many good things that I can do with these elections. So it's very logical that I'm taking part of these.
A few times you already mentioned that you have so many ideas. So may I ask, what are your long-term goals? Would you like to be the president of the European Parliament?
Well, I would maybe start from the national level. I think it would definitely be interesting to be either head of the Environment Committee in the Parliament in the long run, or be a Minister of Climate, definitely. This ministry has a lot of power, it needs ambition, it needs this sustainable view for the future, which we currently have. We have a very good Minister of Climate, but in the future. And then on the EU level, I think, I mean, if you work as an MEP, you have maybe more freedom than you would as a commissioner, because you've been, directly elected there, and you're free in your mandate. So I know there are many topics that you can work with in the European Parliament, but the machine itself is so big. Um, if I get elected to the European Parliament, I will definitely work with climate, environment, and youth issues. But in the long run, I mean, obviously, it would be very interesting to be a commissioner, obviously, to be a president. Why not? So many things that could be achieved. It would be very interesting. But I have to say, I'm really happy with my place right now. There are so many things that I need to do in Estonia before I actually start thinking of this long-term view, and I'm just really enjoying the process. The work with the climate and environment is never ending, whether it's good or bad. So I have so much to do right now.
Well, we wish you good luck, and maybe one day we're gonna come back and we will tell our friends and our family members, like, this person very high in the politics, making changes. Like, we actually.
Yeah, it would be really fun. But if you come to Estonia, I can still host you in our parliament as well. Again, I know Stefanos maybe doesn't want to come because it might be not as interesting as it was in the first time, but I will definitely host you no matter the position.
We're approaching the end soon. I have a couple more questions for you. My first is, do you have any advice that would you like to give to young people who want to get involved in politics, where they should start?
The first thing that everyone said was to go to vote, but even though it's very typical answer, I would still say go to vote. But this means a lot of things. It doesn't mean that you only go to the poll and pick a candidate and put your paper in the box. But it also means that you actually work through the parties' programs for the elections, no matter the type. You work through the candidates. Maybe you look at the media, what the candidates and the parties' agendas have been saying. There are all sorts of conclusions done of different parties' agendas, whether no matter the elections, actually. So you don't have to go through all of them, but you just need to be very conscious about who you're voting for and for which party you're giving your vote to, because in the European Union, I think at least that every country, a person just has only one vote. So it's one vote that you're giving your trust to this person for 4 years, no matter if they get elected or not, and it has a huge weight. So really to be conscious, and for young people, I would say support other young candidates, because when it comes to my personal experience, I love doing street campaign and going out, meeting with people, giving them flyers, talking about my work, my agenda. I really love meeting with people, and for every election, I'm 100% sure that this will happen again now when I'm starting to go to campaign for the EU elections. It's that older people, first of all, they see me, they ask, who am I campaigning for? As if I'm not the candidate. Then they see my picture, my name on the flyer, and then they're like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yes, that's me." And then they will start to ask why I'm running, because I'm so young. Am I still going to school? I don't have any experience. Why am I running? They start, asking all of these questions, which I will respond to very friendly. Obviously, it's okay that they ask me these questions, especially the older generation, because in their time when they were maybe more active in politics, seeing a young person in politics wasn't as typical. So I will respond, and in the end of these conversations, they always say that I support young people. It's so great to see that you're running, but I'm pretty sure that on the election day they will never vote for me, because they want experience, they want a known face, and if young people are not supporting young people, then really no one is. I have to tell you that. For anyone who's listening, and you too as well, if you would go up to your parents and ask if they would vote for a young candidate, then they will say, maybe if the candidate's you, then yeah, but otherwise, I'm not so sure. They're too young. So it's a very practical thing to support young people. But the second biggest thing would be to be a candidate yourself. And I know this can be very intimidating, but if you have any clue about what's going on in politics in your country, then you're well aware of the different parties that you have. And at least in Estonia, every party has their own youth organization. If the party that you like in your country doesn't have a youth organization, I bet there are other political youth organizations that you can still join, whether you're a conservative or a liberal. And from there on, you get to start building your network. You start to understand the system a bit more. If you're still going to school, you can start from your I don't know if they say this in English, but school councils. We have this in Estonia, or from your local youth council. So you can really start from the grassroots level to see how the policy process is happening and how to contribute to that and what your role in that could be. Maybe you find out that you really don't want to be a candidate, but you would like to be on the supporting team. Maybe you find out that you're a really good candidate, that you would be a very good politician. But it's just starting out on at least some level, because I know that young people are very critical of politics, of politicians, but when it comes to them running, this doesn't happen very often. I think this change. It's really not as hard. It's not as frightening. You just need to put yourself out there for you know putting out this example for other young people in your country. So there needs to be someone that makes the first step.
And what about young people who are yet to decide whether they should vote or not in the European elections? What would you say to them?
Well, I would show them the numbers. I would show them the statistics of the European Parliament. I mean, it's crazy to think about. There are 705 members, and of them, only 6 people are under the age of 30. That is crazy. That is completely crazy to me. In 15 member states, you can run for the European Parliament if you're 18. That's just 6 people thinking just like you. 6 people who have more likely the same life experience as you, that understand the generational worries and ideals and goals that we have. We have an aging population in Europe, and the less you care about politics, the more older people will make decisions for you. They're doing this right now, but if you continue to be inactive, this will continue and on a bigger level. And just for everyone who's listening, go up to your parliament's website, just look at the statistics, see how many young people there are, see how many women there are. You see the system of politics is very old, and if you don't want to be a part of the change, then you really can't criticize how the process otherwise goes, because you need to be a part of the change.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Hannah, for being here. And before closing, we have a small game to play that we play with all of our guests, a game of fact or fiction. So, first, you will have to choose an opponent, either Caro or me. And then the one who was not chosen will be the facilitator of the game and will ask a series of questions about the European questions. And the two opponents, they'll have to say if the questions are fact or fiction. So please make your choice and choose your opponent.
I think that's one of the hardest parts of our podcast. I will choose Caro because I know her less.
Jay. And I will be the facilitator of the game, and let's see.
So you're the only one who knows the answers, right?
He's the only one who created.
Okay.
Wise decision. Okay, then let's start with the first question to you, Hannah. The founding members of the European Union are Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Cyprus. Fact or fiction?
I'm not sure about the last countries, but I'm pretty sure about the first ones.
But all of them together.
Okay. It's false because I have some doubts about a few countries you mentioned.
Yes, this is correct. Unfortunately, Cyprus we only joined in.
Wow, beautiful island of
Yeah,
Cyprus.
I know the beautiful island joined very, very late the European Union. Okay, then we have 1 point for you, Hannah. And then, Caro, the next question is for you. Latvia was the last country to join the European Union.
I think it's false.
It is false. And do you know which country was it?
If I'm not mistaken, Croatia?
Yes, correct, exactly. So we have 1 point for each one of you. Okay, then Hannah, the next question is for you. After Brexit and the departure of the United Kingdom, the EU flag was changed from 12 stars to 11 stars.
I think that's false.
Yes, correct. That's false. The number never changes. Then we have 2 points for you, Hannah, and 1 point for you, Caro. And let's go to the next question. So, Caro, the members of the European Council are the heads of state or government of the 27 EU member states, the European Council President, and the President of the European Commission.
That's a very long statement with a lot of information. I think it's fact.
Yes, correct. It's a fact.
That's a complicated one.
So you are both on fire today. Then let's move to the next question. Let's see. Hanah, this is the last question for you. Josep Borrell is the president of the European Parliament.
No, he's not.
Yes, he's not. It's Roberta Metsola that is the current president. Josep Borrell is the head of the External Action Service. So then we have 3 points for Hanah, 2 points for Caro. And Caro, if you get this answer correct, then it will be a tie. It's a very, very easy question. In Greek mythology,
Okay, first of all, how from European Union related topics we jumped back in the history to the mythology.
it makes sense. So, in Greek mythology, Europa was a beautiful princess who Zeus fell in love with. Fact or fiction?
That's gonna be lucky guess. Hopefully, lucky guess. True.
It is true. Yes, the mythology says that Zeus fell in love with Europa.
Really?
And I actually got this question from the Euro participation brochure that we developed for the European Union EU elections campaign.
Okay.
Oof. Okay, so if you want to find more interesting facts, please check the Euro participation, Euro activism brochure available on our website.
Maybe Stefanos will have to create a separate game show. It'd be very interesting to see guests and for them to guess wrong. I got some new knowledge today, so I'm very happy about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe.
I can share with you the secret. There's always a lot of questions about Cyprus.
Yes, indeed. Cyprus is gonna be at least in 50% of the questions. But congratulations to both of you. It's a tie.
Yay!
Thank you.
Well done. Hanah, thank you for finding time for us in your busy agenda. Thank you for talking with us. We wish you good luck in your EU elections campaign.
Thank you for having me. Please go to vote, and I hope at least one listener gains the courage from this podcast to be a candidate themselves.
We hope so too. And this is the end of our EU election episodes. That was the last one, unfortunately. To all our listeners, don't forget to vote. Check our websites to see how you can vote, which day are you voting, and when to start. And remember, between 6 and 9 of June, you have a choice. So don't let others choose for you.
And register to hear you.
And register for the
Register to hear you.